Welcome back to another episode of Conversations That Cure. I'm Michael Ryder, aka Ryder Grooms, and I'm here with
Corey Sturkey, aka Bones the Goat.
and
Gregory Sturkey Pop.
so on today's episode, and it's funny that the we've been discussing over the past couple of weeks, and today we decided to kind of tap into a book that the three of us have been reading as a collective, as like a kind of team building self improvement exercise, because we figured that we can't preach self improvement and transparency and trying to be a better person if we did not do it collectively as a group ourselves, something on that magnitude. So, over the past couple of weeks, we've been reading this book. It's called 40 Questions to Change Your Life. And me personally, I'm not a reader by any means. And it's funny that this is actually the question that we all picked, because my first excuse when we brought up we read from books that I don't want to read. And so we collectively came up with a question from the book. And the question itself was, what's your favorite excuse and why are you still using it? And I picked out a passage from this chapter. And the one thing that stuck out to me the most is it's always easier to find excuses instead of time for the things we don't want to do. Right. And that related with me tenfold, especially even when it comes to just reading the book itself. Right. Like I had all these, I can't focus. I don't got the time. I just want to get to A to Z. Like I have to, I made every excuse in the world. I don't want to read a book. And Pops put it perfectly when we sat down and all discussed, like, this is what we were going to do, because he was like, you have to do it with intention. And when I started thinking about it like that, rather than just like I'm reading to burn time or just reading to try to hopefully get like some like burning bush experience from this book or whatever, like I'm reading with intention of trying to better myself through the words that are on these pages, especially with a book like this that's so invested in self-improvement. It was huge for me to like really go into the book with intention. So as I'm reading through this chapter and I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, what excuses am I really using in my life, right? The two biggest ones I always have are, I don't have enough time and I forgot. Those are excuses in my book, right? Because I have time, I just don't prioritize it towards certain things or certain people or certain situations, right? And most of the time I don't forget. I just don't prioritize it, right? I might forget, I forgot to text you back. I forgot to call. I forgot to do this. No, I just didn't place it up in the priority and just kind of left it to the wayside, right? So for me, those are two big things that I've gotten from myself while reading through this chapter at least. So I just want to hear from y'all and see what y'all got from this chapter at least.
I mean, from just what you were saying about the segment that stuck out to you about making the excuses, like that really resonated with me a lot, because I be making excuses. Like, man, I'm working, I'm booked up, got the kids, you know what I'm saying? But where it really comes down to is just like, it's just getting the right system in place. That's really what it comes down to. Is like, this thing, you can't say that you forgot or it just wasn't that important. You didn't make it that important. It wasn't no urgency like attached to it. So I think like that was really like a wake-up call. But then for me, one segment that really, really stuck out to me a lot from the book was a quote by Edmund Gross. He said, "You can fall down many times, but you won't be a failure until you say someone else pushed you." And that was like, that really, really resonated with me, because the biggest thing that I hear from that quote is accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability. And automatically like re-reference to some of the teachings from the book, The Four Agreements, not taking things personal. And when you can attach the emotions from things happening to you, you're able to view them from a different perspective. So once in that particular situation, it made me sit down and think about business decisions that I made, that I said that it was other people's fault, that things didn't go the way that they could have. But in actuality, it was like, I recognized those things early, and out of comfort or the fear of being in discomfort, I allowed them to continue to go on. And when it didn't go the way that I felt it should have went, I tried to pass the blame, when the reality is like, not to say that there wasn't fault done to me. The most important thing is like, I can't control those things.
Yeah.
You know, I can't control how people react or what people do to me. Only thing I can control is the lessons that I learned and how I react to them. And it made me sit down and really, really think. And like I had to, that's when I went and had a conversation with Chaz, my kid's mom, where not to say like I was completely in fault the entire relationship, but there were things that I realized that I was dead wrong with. And one thing was just like my level of expectation that I put on her was unfair. It was very unfair, and it wasn't right because success and happiness is gauged. It's all subjective.
Yes.
What's happiness and success for one person can be drastically different from the other. Like success for one barber may be 10, 15 shops, but then to one barber it could be I want a full book so I can take care of my family and be more present with my family.
Yeah.
So both of those guys have different perspectives on success. But to say that the barber that wants 15 shops is more successful than the barber that just wants to spend more time with his family, and present with his family, it's two different things. You know what I'm saying? So once I was able to kind of see like where I was wrong and the things of what my definition of success was and happiness was and how I had projected and put that on her, I had to go back to her and have a conversation. It's like, hey, like, this was my fault. This is where I was wrong. And I need you to know that, so that way you don't take that way of thinking into your next relationship and thinking that it was something or a fault that you had when it was actuality. It was just something that I was dealing with that I didn't know how to communicate that to you properly. So I projected it on you and put expectations that wasn't fair.
That was beautiful.
So seeing that quote, it really made me sit down and think. It was like, all right, so many people have done things to you. That's like when you hear all the time, they say like a guy or a girl say, oh, I just keep meeting the same people. You know, I've had these people, they keep doing me dirty. Like I'm such a loving person. I give, and then they just take advantage of me. And I had to start sitting and thinking to myself, I was like, I done went through this like 4 times already. None of these women know each other. So clearly it's something that I'm doing wrong. So instead of me saying that it was them that things didn't work out, what could I have done better? Where did I drop the ball in the relationship? Where did I project my expectations on her? Where did I not prioritize certain things in the relationship? And then once I was able to sit back, it was like, no, nigga, it wasn't them the whole time. You was wrong too. You was wrong here, you was wrong here, you was wrong here, and you was wrong there too. But I felt like that passage, that quote specifically for me, that helped out a lot, tremendously. It helped out a lot because it allowed me to grow my relationship with myself, and then also allowed me to mend other relationships that could have been broken based off of my expectations and my lack of accountability and how I was in certain situations.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Wow. That was beautiful. I sit up and I think one of my biggest excuses was I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm stressed out. And I always say to myself, I don't know what to do. So that gave me the permission to do nothing. So I would sit and be still. And the things that would always put me in that place was how to manage with my brother. And that right there was always a challenge to me because I would feel that I couldn't live life.
Perspective, like not context. Who's your brother?
Roy.
For people who don't know.
Yeah, Roy. My brother's Roy Sean. He's handicapped. He can't walk. He's in a wheelchair, and I'm his caretaker. So I would always feel like, you know, how am I going to manage this? So I would shut down. I would completely shut down. But in my shutting down, it didn't just affect me, it affected my brother. So in order for me to be able to deal with that, I had to sit with myself and ask myself, what is it about me that I don't believe that I can accomplish in having my brother? So there were areas in my life where I had to really sit down and zero in and focus on, so I was able to get rid of the excuses. And the quote in the book that I like, it says that when you use excuses, you give up your power to change. And I realized for years, I would say to myself, I'm overwhelmed. And I was overwhelmed. It was real. But I allowed that to speak to me and tell me who I was and what I was capable of doing and what I couldn't achieve, until I had to make the decision to really sit in it, because our excuses do not just affect us. They affect our loved ones. And the majority of the time, they affect the closest ones to us. So I had to sit with myself and come to terms with a few things. And one of the things that really helped me to deal was the fact that God had told me when I was 11 years old. My brother was in the hospital. I just came from outside playing. My mother was on the front porch and she was crying. And I was like, Mom, what's wrong? She said, Greg, the doctor said Roy may not live. Now, don't ask me how. I got other brothers and sisters that was on my stepfather's side that were grown. And when she said that to me, it just dropped in my spirit. Roy's going to be with you for the rest of your life. Now, I'm 11 years old. I had no clue what that was saying to me at 11 years old. No idea. But then for me to sit down and no longer use excuses and be accountable for what was on my table, I sat and I remember it. And so it allowed me to be able to go to God. God, you told me this when I was young. So that was able to give me the strength that if God put this on my plate, if this was on my plate, then I'm going to be able to manage it. So I had to better myself, my gift, get better in how I react to things. When I begin to get better in that, I begin to speak differently. I got this. It's all good. I don't walk in the house no more and get all stressed out like I used to because my brother was there, because it was so overwhelming. Do it get overwhelming? Yeah. Yes. But I don't use it as an excuse not to become my best and do things. So now when it happens, I sit. I find out where I can get better at. I don't run from the feeling, because emotions are there for a reason. The majority of the time a person get overwhelmed, they shut down. No, you get overwhelmed, you sit in it, you lean in it, and you ask yourself, why am I feeling overwhelmed? What about this situation has me overwhelmed? And you write it down if you have to write it down. But your emotions leave their warnings. They let you know if something's wrong. They let you know if something's going right. So I learned to lean into it. So when it happens to me, okay, I sit in it and find out what's going on. So now I don't use that excuse, because when I used it, I couldn't grow. I couldn't develop. I couldn't move forward. And that don't just affect me. It affected my loved ones. So now I'm able, and I understand how I deal with things now. And that was just a quick sign to let me know, this area you don't believe in yourself enough. Now just improve. Take one step at a time and just improve in that area right there. And that's what I did.
I think even reverting back to like the second part of the question, like why are we still using them? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like why are there certain excuses that I'll still use? And relating with you, it's because that change is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather use the excuse, oh, I don't have the time. Oh, this happened or this happened.
We got so good at it.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah. And that's the truth though. You get good at
I
it.
got so good at it. It's like, oh, you know what? You tell it, you make the excuse so often to where now it's like, you know what? Maybe I am just too tired.
Yeah. You convince your own self.
You know, like, you know what?
Start believing your own lies.
You start believing your own lies.
But this the reality though. You know, it's definitely reality. But that segment from the book, man, it really resonated with me, because it made me just sit back and just view Corey more. But the thing I loved about it the most is it allowed me to reflect, but then also to restore.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and having that, it felt good to be able to have that conversation with Chaz, because I know now it allows her to heal.
It allows her to heal. That is huge.
It allowed her to heal. Me being accountable with myself, and like swallowing my ego, addressing my ego, and then going to her and like, hey, like, you was right. You was right here. I was wrong here. I just need you to know. I need you to know that, so that way you can continue to be the best version of yourself for the next person.
That's right.
You know, that you end up being with.
That's
But
right.
this book is good. And then it's got another quote that I like too. It said, "The fox condemns the trap, not himself."
Yeah.
You know, we encounter so many different things in our lives, and then instead of us taking accountability for why we don't do these things, we blame
Everybody
blame
else.
the reason why we failed. Not the reason why we failed, the reason why we came up short.
Yeah.
So I didn't make it there because of this. You know, you hear dudes all the time, I ain't successful like because of the black man and this, that,
Yeah.
because of the white man. Like, look, man, you're not where you're supposed to be in life because of you. You made the excuses. You gave those excuses the power that it needed to cripple you into not being and not walking at your fullest potential.
That's right.
Nobody on this earth. That's why I say people all the time. I was like, bro, like, we talk about politics or like who you voting for, whatnot and third. I say, like, when it comes to this whole like political thing, I've always viewed it from a spiritual stand of view. You know, yes, like you want to go with somebody who aligns more with your beliefs, but at the end of the day, if there's a dog that's in office, I answer to one person. And I believe that one person has the power to dictate how my life is going to be and the life of my children and my loved ones. So if I'd rather keep my focus on developing my relationship and knowing the policies that my God has, you know, in comparison to what these men are trying to pander in front of us and do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I control that. I'm not going to use that as an excuse on why I'm not successful.
Yeah.
You know, but do you use excuses? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm for me, like, I said, and I know this, I know I'm your son, and I struggle with the same things that you struggle from, because, you know, what you say all the time, children will do what you tell them to do, what you show them. So I learned that habit from you.
Yeah.
So now in my life, it's like seeing you combat it and address these things, it's saving me time.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm not going to go through these and have to learn these lessons at 50 something years old.
That's
I
right.
can deal with it at 35.
That's right.
And then if I'm learning it right now, that's giving Rod even more perspective, because she's younger than both of us. And
That's
I feel
right.
like that's very important, is to have a circle of people that you trust around you to hold you accountable, so those excuses don't hold so much weight
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if you're communicating like, hey, fellas, like, look, this is what my goals are. These are the dates I want to do it. Now you put that added pressure on you, but it's not a bad pressure. It's a positive pressure, because it's like these people who you're sharing this with have the best in mind for you, as they would hope you would be the same for them as well. So I feel like building a community of people that you trust, that are like-minded. They don't have to be the perfect guy. They just got to be somebody that's trying to do better, and y'all hold each other accountable. I feel like that's another way, another tool to combat the excuse making.
Yeah, because you have then you had to have at the table different perspectives, because everybody has gone through something. You sit at the table, you throw a question out that you may be dealing with, and you get whoever's in that room. You get so many different perspectives from each one. You know, you be like, wow, I can try that. I can try this. Dang, I can try that. I never thought of that. I never thought of this. Like, when we have meetings and I throw questions out there, I listen. You be saying some good stuff. You be saying some good stuff. I'm like, wow, I'm glad I threw that question out there, because, you know, we need that support. I mean, from one another. You don't have that type of support, you'll go through unnecessary things that you do not have to go through. You try to walk alone. I got this. I'm going to do this on my own. There's a difference between walking alone and walking with yourself. You've got to be able to do what? Be alone with you and how to deal with you. But we are not created to be alone.
We need community.
We need community. But if you don't know how to be alone with yourself, then you're going to have a hard time being with a community. So, I mean, and just having that community and understanding that, you know, you're going to be able to get things that's going to put you years ahead of the game. to where you don't have to go through, like you just said, things that I'm learning right now, 50. I'm in my 50s and I'm learning and I'm dealing with stuff. But if you find the right community, you sit with them, you can be in your 20s and you'll be way ahead of the game just from the wisdom of somebody at the table has had. You know what I'm saying? Because people, one of the things that's important is that we learn to listen to our intuition. Our intuition is not loud. It whispers. But how do you know you don't listen to your intuition? It's when all hell break loose. And then you'll sit down and you'll think and you'll say to yourself, dang, I knew I should have listened to that 5 months ago. 5 months ago, your intuition told you, don't go that way. Just chill. But we wanted to prove something to somebody. We didn't want to look a certain type of way. But if you're in a community and you bring that to the table, you're going to run into somebody that said, yeah, I learned the hard lesson because I didn't listen to my intuition. Then they make you catch real quick. Because nothing ever creeps up on us. Nothing. Nothing creeps us on it. You may think it's creep up on you, but when you go through the storm and you realize you're sitting in that pain, you'll take a minute and you'll think, yeah, I remember.
It's true. Like we all need a sense of community. It's like the quote, right? I say all the time, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Go together.
You know, and it's so true. Like the notion that you can be self-made is insane to me. You know, I don't believe that at all.
No.
I do not believe that notion whatsoever. Like we all got to where we're at, either from somebody in the past laying down the foundation for us to have the privilege to
That's
do that,
right. That's right.
or with people actively in our lives helping us along that way. Like we all need somebody to lean on. And I feel like that is an amazing tool, an amazing mindset to have when you know that you're a person that procrastinates, you're a person that makes excuses. Having people to hold you accountable, it makes a difference. I mean, even as a child, when you're a kid, who holds you accountable to do stuff you got to get done? Your parents.
Yeah.
If you didn't have your parents there, if you didn't have that community, that circle of leadership there, not saying that you got to get people that's your parents, but your parents essentially were people to help you, to have more wisdom to say, hey, don't do these things because when I was your age, I did it and this was the result. You know, if we can adapt to that mindset and developing our circle and our community, I feel like success is inevitable if you're doing the work that it takes.
I think it boils down almost to like two things, right? Like not being so closed-minded and not being so closed-minded and allowing yourself to be open-minded enough to be accepting the criticism, to accept new ventures, to accept new journeys, to do new things outside of your own comfort zone so that you don't get stuck in those ruts, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think it's so important to have that type of mindset because it puts you in a position where you'll always grow.
yeah.
You'll always be able to see yourself. And you had said, the shortcomings we may have, it's okay to be messed up. It's okay to not have everything. It took me years to accept the fact I don't have a high school diploma. I had dyslexia and I used to beat myself up and I would say, I'm not good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that, until I began to tap into the gift that God gave me and realizing that the ones with the high school diploma and the college degrees were coming to me for help, for advice. And I had to learn, don't compare yourself to nobody. It's okay if you got a problem in your life and you mess up. The problem is that when we don't acknowledge that we got a problem and we try to keep going, then you don't only hurt yourself, you hurt the ones that love you. But it's okay if you got a problem. Everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. Everybody has problems. Nobody's going to be perfect. We all going to have flaws. We all going to fall short. Everybody has problems. But when we try to hide that, and excuses is just hiding what's wrong with us. That's what they are. Excuses is a cover up. So when we have excuses, what do? We build a character. We build an image And when we build that image, we'll do everything we can to protect that image. Don't come against my image. And it's really not the image that we're trying to protect. It's the excuses that we're trying to protect. We're hiding somewhere within ourselves because we may feel a little insecure or we're embarrassed about something that's in our lives and we don't want nobody to know. We didn't created this great image. And so we don't want nobody to know that I really struggle with this right here. I really, but not knowing, as soon as you open up and you say it, you realize that the whole team struggles with the same thing.
Yeah, it's true. But stop making those excuses. Build that community of people. Show up for yourself. Stop fooling yourself, and also have grace with yourself.
Yes.
Along the journey, understanding that reprogramming your mind is a process and it takes time. So make sure you show grace with yourself, because I say all the time, and I'm gonna end it with this: if somebody off the street spoke to you the way that you spoke to yourself, you'd be ready to fight them.
That's a great one right there.
And on that note, man, we thank y'all so much for tuning in for another episode of Conversations That Cure. I'm Corey Sturkey, aka Bones the Goat.
I'm Michael Ryder, aka Ryder Grooms.
Gregory Sturkey Pops.
Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all tune in, like, comment, subscribe, turn the post notifications on, leave the comments. Please reach out and stay tuned for our next live stream so y'all can tune in and chat with us in real time. Take care.
Peace.